But to just show this up close and personal, that's about what you can expect. And that is the Gavco Clear Buff. Now we're going to work on some MT-09 carbon fiber parts today. We had such a lot of fun at that Ducati meetup yesterday. It's going to be a hard act to follow, but we're going to head up there again today. Usually these meetups are very unpredictable. Yesterday's was with that airbag going off and cops all over the place, and you can't make that stuff up. Anyway, I do have one thing I have to deal with today before I can head out on the open road. Karen wants to finish a couple of little things on a Halloween decoration. She's excited. I want to finish it up, and of course we're going to finish that up. I don't ever like coming home from a ride and having to do maintenance. I would rather do the maintenance first and then go for a ride. Now what's funny, since doing this restoration, I have 4,000 miles on the bike. We're up to 28,000 now. I've got one more ride left, but basically a 100-mile ride left, 150 miles. And this will be ready for the 28,000 mile service, which is, for this bike, since we've had it down to the rafters a year ago, there isn't much to do. Chain, oil, filter, check all the bolts, make sure all the fairing bolts are tight, and then go for another 4,000 miles. This bike has really been, I say, when I did the restoration, I really didn't cut any corners. I did what I thought was the best job possible, and it has been a joy to ride. And I can't believe my beloved RD. I've got those carburetors about 3 months sitting in the cellar. I haven't had time to put them on. There is a little machining that has to be done, and I didn't want to cut corners. But once we get into the weather where we can't ride every day, we're trying to use up every day. It is wonderful, just wonderful weather here. This is going to be one of our future projects, and we're going to try to do it absolutely right. We have brand new Sutco carburetors. A couple of the other little projects that I'm looking forward to, I got those things ready to sand and buff. That paint's been drying. I got the license plate backers for both of these bikes. I've already made the carbon fiber up. I have the sheet ready to cut, and I think that'll be a nice little upgrade for both of the bikes too, so I'll make 2 of them when I make them. But I have a golden rule, and there's a golden rule that I've used my whole life. If it's an appropriate day to get a ride in, I want to ride, because in this part of the country, you don't get to ride every day. And there's plenty of days you get up in the morning, it's raining, the wind is blowing, or something else crazy is happening. And so whenever I get a chance to ride, I want to ride. And next time we get to ride the MT-09, when it's his turn, I have a brand new Michelin 2 tire to break in. So we've got a lot of stuff to look forward to, but we always do. And every day is an adventure. No Groundhog Days. So before I even took the bike out of the garage, all our Halloween stuff is put up. This is supposed to be Windy and Karen here. I guess you know that. I'm not sure that panned out the way she planned. We're pretty much at the end of some of our flowers are already petering out, but we do love decorating for Halloween, and Thanksgiving's coming too, and winter. It just couldn't be any more fun, and they're doing major renovation on a house down the street. All day we hear the hammering. This is a funny story. In the beginning of the summer, the very first plant we got, Stacy got us this plant here. I don't even know what kind of plant it is, the light purple flower. I divided it into 3 flowers, 3 pots, and this is the last one. It still has a bloom. Here it basically at the end of the season. And you know my friend Glenn Hansen, he gave a guy a hug yesterday, just like that, and the guy's airbag went off. How can you make that up? That really was unbelievable. Did you say Glenn Hansen? I remember him. He's a great guy. Hey, we really do love Glenn. And Glenn, we put this out in front of the house to honor you, and a lot of fun we had over the years. And we are coming up on the end of the flowers, but we have had an amazing, amazing summer. Karen's garden turned out better than I could have ever imagined. Just an unbelievable summer. And we had wonderful clear pond water all summer, just amazing. So much different than the year before when we had that toxic algae bloom. All the lakes were toxic. This year was a very special year. So this morning we got a small harvest. How many more tomatoes do we have back there, Karen? A lot, huh?
We have quite a few.
Come on, boys. What's going on here? You guys just don't seem to get it. One of my little honeydews here is I have to slice the meat today. And I'm an expert butcher. I guess everybody knows that. Now, I know my friend Joe Roselli, who's a master butcher. He will know how difficult it is to get the last little bit of fat off a prime. What do you call this meat? Roast beef?
It is a rump roast.
A rump roast. I thought I was a rump roast.
I'm slicing it so that it can be a French tip.
Joe, this is just for you, baby. That is a true story. As a kid, I sliced the tip of my finger off in my grandmother's store doing this. So I'm a little hesitant to do this, but being the butcher, the professional butcher I am. So it's a lot of work doing these little honeydew things, but boy, now that meat, that is the most delicious. I know Luciano will be jealous of that meat. Oh. And Joe Roselli, professional, I mean, he's the best chef I know. Wow. Joe, even you would enjoy that meat. Now, today's schedule has changed so many times, I'm not even going to try to keep up with how many things Karen has planned for today. But what I want to do is I want to get these sanded with some 2000 grit and get them buffed out. Maybe you can get them installed today in between things on this honeydew list. And these will go on the MT-09. And if it'd be an hour or so to do this, but in the meantime, we've got honeydew things within honeydew. I don't even know if we're going to get to ride till later this afternoon, and maybe we won't even get to ride at all. But these are things I want to get done anyway. A couple of tips for sanding out clear. It's always good to let it dry a few extra days, which we have. And we're going to sand it with 2000 grit Indasa, made in Portugal. 2000 grit is going to leave very small scratches. If I had some 2500, I'd use 2500. I'm currently out of it. But the idea is to sand a part flat, no matter what. Any carbon fiber part that has an acrylic finish, this is well, not acrylic, but a urethane would probably be a better word. But any finish, no matter what the finish is, if you're doing a piece of plastic, a headlight lens, among other things, is to get it flat. First thing is to get it flat, and any little divots, any little flaws, moon craters, anything that's still in there, try to sand enough. Now we put enough clear on here to try to get all those little imperfections out. And sometimes this little part of it can get a little time consuming. So one of the things that'll help when you have certain defects, and I'm going to show this because the whole idea of these videos is to show how to correct little things that happen to everybody. We have a little bit of paint build up here extra, so we want to get that flat. An ordinary nail file with some 2000 grit paper. And I've got a couple little, what I call moon craters up here. And usually when now we made this carbon fiber material, so I can't say we use PVA release agent from the glass, and there's always a little tendency for that, to get that first coat of clear to stick and lay down. A lot of times the only way you can do it is put a coat of clear on, and I want to pass this tip on, and let it sit about 30 seconds, wipe it down with a clean paper towel, then wipe that with some more prep oil, and put another coat on and wipe that coat off, because each coat will pick up some of the silicone. You're using it like a magnet. But paint buildup around the edge, if you just sand this by hand, you'll just do that. So having a flat surface, a nail file, a sanding block, hard block, a soft block, but it just makes it a little bit easier to get that what amounts to be a high spot in the finish. Now once we get this totally flat, and we're going to use the Buffin product, little parts like this you're probably better off doing by hand, but we do have a buffer. I'll try to demonstrate both ways. And then these will be ready to put back on the MT-09. I'm kind of looking forward to that. And I have been researching out a windshield for the winter, and I have not found anything that I'm in love with yet. So that's still one of the parts I still have to look into. And there's what we're striving for, is everything block sanded, flat sanded. Now this piece still has the paint buildup around there. There's still little I call them moon craters and things, which are very common trying to paint any carbon fiber. Getting that first coat, again, that's a real challenge. But it doesn't matter, see, because it won't matter. Once this is sanded down, it's going to look like this. It'll be perfectly flat, and this is ready to buff. And that
that is the whole secret, is get it flat. 2000 grit, even better, 2500 if you have the patience. Take the patience to do that, and when both parts are like that, we'll be ready to buff. That's kind of a reverse before and after. It's an after and before. Now with both of the parts sanded flat, I find doing little parts like this probably the easiest. This is doing by hand, but I'll show how I would use a buffer. But by hand, I can get in all the corners and edges and angles. It's almost like when I was a full-time modeler, always dealing with small edges, corners, and everything. So I'm very comfortable doing that, where a lot of people are more comfortable with a giant buffer and just buff things away. I like doing little detail work a lot more. So the product that we use for buffing on acrylic lacquer, acrylic, urethane, and lacquer, and plastic, and headlight lenses, and just about everything. And actually, I've buffed out some of the exhaust pipe parts and muffler parts with this. This is 4CR 8065. You can use it by hand, you can use it with a buffing wheel, equally effective. If you don't have this, Meguiar's makes a great product, and you can always use the standby, the Mother's stuff, the mag wheel polish. All of them are good. It's pretty subjective. This is the product that I like the best. One of the things on my videos, I always try to show what I'm doing, at least partially in real time. Obviously, you don't want to make a 4-hour video out of this, but here is the part that we've sanded, 2000 grit. It's material that we made on a previous video. You can dial back a few videos or just dial up carbon fiber and it comes up. And making that the raw material, we're going to use it in the next couple days for some other products that I want, other parts I want to use. But I want to show one little part of this. A little bit of the material. And when you show, you know, a lot of times when you show things in real time, you really get people's attention because they know they can believe you. When you do these things with exotic camera cuts, and I've seen some things, especially advertisements for products, where they don't really show you how long it takes to do something, but you still can get it done. But this is one of them that I think if you see it in real time, it'll make a believer at it. And there's no secret to doing it. This stuff works good on exhaust pipes too, by the way, for not only for polishing them, but then that touch-up thing, like a month after you polish them or 2 months later, they get a little ratty or get the bugs on them. Just doing just what I'm doing right now will bring them right back. And by the way, that is a really, really good product. So now real time, no camera cuts, no nonsense, no my pillow commercials or anything like that. Rub that little spot down. Now I want to show that. It's hard for me to do this with the way I've done it. Here, let's just see if, I'm not sure you can see that, but that would be one of them without camera cuts. Now this is our trusty Harbor Freight buffer and the part we just did. I want to do a little part with the buffing wheel. Some of the things that'll make this go a little bit nicer if you're dealing with new paint is a brand new pad. Put the material on sparingly. You don't need a lot of the material. Keep the pad moving. Don't hold it in one spot. Keep it moving. Omnidirectional, all different directions. This will go, and this works great on exhaust pipes, by the way. I've shown this same thing. Again, on my videos, a lot of them have to do with painting and polishing. Good majority of them. And believe me, I've done a lot of it in my lifetime. An awful lot of it. Karen says too much of it. Maybe you agree. But just to give you an idea how quick that paint comes up, relatively quickly. Let's see if we can show this. You never know if it's going to show up on video or not. Let's see, right there is the light. Now we'll go over both of the parts totally, and they'll be ready to put back on the motorcycle. Now I wanted to just show this up close and personal. That's about what you can expect. And that is the Gavco Clear. Buffs out beautifully. Best to let it dry an extra couple of days. In this case, we let it dry plenty of time. And it's time to, well, looking forward to seeing how that's going to look on the bike. So while I'm doing this, Karen is putting more pumpkin decorations up, but here you can see the finish on that. I don't think you have to be, how do you like that, baby? Look at that, you can see the pumpkins. Let's see if we can see the pumpkins reflecting in it.
That piece is beautiful.
Beautiful, jewelry, baby, jewelry. Yeah, that came out nice. Sort of back this up just a little bit. One of the things most people don't like about the front of the bike, styling wise, is it looks like Yamaha either didn't make a piece. I personally don't like two things. This little groove, if this piece were one piece, I'm surprised nobody made an accessory piece for that yet. I had thought about that I could, because what I can do is using carbon fiber, I can fill that in, make this whole nose piece carbon fiber, but instead I made these two little pieces, and we may do that in the future. But I'm still looking at, over the winter, I want to get some kind of a windshield. Maybe not for riding in the summer, but we still have a month or two to decide. But a big thing that changed, I think, changed the look of the bike, getting rid of the silver bolts, putting black bolts. And now I want to see how that carbon fiber piece is going to look. And I think just putting the bolts in black was a big upgrade. But again, it's the styling here. It's one of the few things about the bike, it looks like Yamaha might have dropped the football on that. But who knows, you know, all styling is in the eye of the beholder, that's for sure. And I noted if you start to make this piece too big and cumbersome, because I did it with paper patterns already, it starts to look funky too. It starts to look not like a naked bike, like a sport bike wannabe. And this is not a sport bike. It's not made to be an uncomfortable track bike only kind of thing. Now, let's see. I may have to make a little shim. Yes, I do. See, because this doesn't lay down when you put the bolts in exactly flat, I need to put a little shim under here, a little piece of carbon fiber, a little piece of anything actually. I could actually use Gorilla Tape on that, something anyway. But let me do that and let me see if I can shim this and get it right in the position exactly the way I want it. And obviously you can decide for yourself which side looks better. I think even if they just, again, because I've styled a lot of things and I have an eye for things like this. That to me this is the part nobody likes, this 2 square inch part. Once you get rid of that, this looks a lot more acceptable. Now, again, I had done paper patterns, making this bigger, smaller, further back. I don't know if we got it until I actually use this out in the real world and see how I like it, but I like it so far. But again, winter's coming, and I'm going to probably want some kind of a windshield. Now, the only time you ride is in pleasant weather. Well, that makes your life a lot easier than when you, what I call this is like an all-weather fighter. You have to be aware. Some of the days, it's going to be really cold. Some of the days, uncomfortably cold. And some of the days, you just want to get a ride in the middle of the winter, and at least I do anyway. But I think this is going to be, until I figure out exactly what I want to do, I think this is going to be just fine. But again, we're going to find this out, and we're going to find it out. Another little tip, I just want to put tips on this that may be of value. When you're putting a bolt like this on brand new paint, it's a good idea to put 1 drop of either soap or WD-40 on the back of the bolt so you don't tear the paint. This is relatively new. Well, it's a week old anyway. The 2-part clear. Now, I really, as much as I don't know who else is going to like it, but I really think that changes the whole look of the bike. And I'm happy that at the few hours I spent doing it, and basically almost no money, that's a nice upgrade to the bike. Of course, it's all in the eye of the beholder. Any of these kind of stylized things. Now, I thought I'd show one other little tip here. After a ride, especially the last time we rode this, I do believe the roads were really crappy from it already raining, but this is a good little thing to do, and this is the amount of time, I'm trying to do this in real time, the amount of time it takes to maintain the polish that I put on here. Now, the polishing is on a previous video, but the maintenance, I would say if you do this, just what I'm doing in real time here, once a month, with that material, let me show it again, 8065, and a microfiber. that thing is going to get better and better, and each time you do it, it's easier to clean than the time before. In fact, it looks like I went through a spot where there was some tar on a road, but the good news is this stuff takes it right off. Just take a dry part of this. It usually comes up very, very quickly, and while I'm down here working like this, there's always some of the road grime on everything. And I think polishing these parts up, I remember the comment somebody made we were at Perry's, and I know we have it on a video. It's on one of the videos. We were at Ducati, and another guy with an MT-09 looked, he said, mine doesn't look like that. Well, yeah, it could, you just got to do it. Now look how quick that came up, boy, that's amazing. Changes the whole look of the bike in couple of minutes, and when it goes in the other direction and everything is rusty and oxidized, then you're going downhill in a handbasket. So that's our little project for today completed, and I think that's just, I couldn't be happier with that. That really changes the look of the bike. Now I have to say, there are a lot of things in the world of motorcycling where one little thing changes the whole look of the bike. Here's an example on a Ninja. When I modified this part, it had a big long tail hanging down there with a big reflector. Just trimming that down and painting it shiny, not flat, changed the look of the bike. All the carbon fiber parts I made for the R1, I thought every one of them just added a nice little touch over what the stock parts were. On a GS, just painting the instruments. Gloss. Changed, to me, made a change. It looks like the factory could have done it, should have done it, but they didn't. And when it comes to styling things, I always remember I had painted this part green when I originally laid out this paint job on the bike. Had it all done, and that part was green, and something didn't look right. I couldn't figure out what it was. I took pictures, I made sketches, and when I painted that part black, it changed the whole look of the bike. Another thing, when we did this job, we moved the lettering. This is paint lettering, not a decal. Thank you, Thomas Luciano and John Pothier. We moved it. It was up here. We moved it down because we had the tank bag with the magnets. Now with the Jivy bag, you don't have to deal with that. But I still think it really looks nice with the lettering right where it is. And by the way, that Jivy bag worked out better than I ever could have imagined. And the biggest single thing I remember when we did the styling of this bike, making this piece here, this is a carbon fiber part I made. It's on a previous video. But this piece covering the front half of the shock, that changes the look of the bike in 5-6 square inches. And it's something Kawasaki could have done, should have done. Their styling eye and mine are a little bit different. And they're making money and I'm not, so you figure it out. But I just think that changes the look of the bike. And that's always the goal when you when you try to customize a bike. Try to make it look like the factory did it. In a roundabout way, it does look like the factory did that, but I'm not sure. Again, this is an ongoing thing with this motorcycle. Since Karen got it for me for my birthday, I've got over 3,000 miles. I've already had a flat. I've made parts for it. But the one thing, I have just enjoyed the hell out of riding it. So before the video ends, I want to say thank you to all the healthcare workers. Thank you guys so much. Boy, I can't tell you how much I appreciate, and my family, that we're all healthy and we've made it this far through this virus, horrible virus of 2020. Anyway, and thank you, Karen, for this wonderful gift, wonderful birthday gift. I can't tell you how much I have enjoyed this. More than, of all my experiences in motorcycling, getting this bike on my birthday and having that first 3,000 miles be so much fun. I will treasure that forever. I hope you enjoyed the video. I enjoy making them. And I know Karen enjoys working in the garden. She has her things, cooking meat, doing all things. We enjoy sharing our whole life with you if you're a subscriber. Thank you for watching. And I always say it. I have to say it over and over again. Healthcare workers, thank you guys. Every time I see those signs, and I think I was one of the first ones to put up one of those signs, but they're everywhere now. Everybody's on board with that. Thank you so much, and thanks for watching. So we try to post up a video almost every day, share the things that are going on in our shop, our life, the rides we take, the friends we have, all the places we go, the people we interact with. Some of the funny stories, some of them not so funny, some of them serious. But all of the things revolve around the passion we all share for motorcycles, modifying them, riding them, sharing the friendships we make through motorcycling. I try to put that all on my channel. I hope you enjoy sharing all of it. I enjoy making the videos. And thank you so much for watching.